we're going to discuss the most active news for May 12, 2020. It's Tuesday. So today, this is what happened with the market. Let's take a look in our top picks first. So yesterday, we saw PLDT and Globe fall market on close. PLDT subsequently rose today, hitting a close of 1,185. Globe recovered from a close of 2080 last night. Now it's 2130 or up 50 pesos. So far, URC continued going up. This is day 2 for URC, hitting 130 pesos. This is 10 pesos higher than its previous low 2 days ago at 120. So far, Pure Gold got a mixed reaction. There's a bit of profit taking after hitting 49 yesterday. Today is day 3 for Pure Gold, and it's still at 48, significantly above the 46.50 area where it was trading a couple of weeks back. The brightest story for the day would be Meralco. Meralco is trading at 264, now 3% higher. Manila Water is unchanged. Mrs. G is unchanged. Let's take a look on your index movers for the day. For the day, we actually saw a glaring drop for Ayala Land, 4.5%. For those who are not aware, yesterday, Ayala Land reported a 41% decline on their earnings after being affected negatively on Taal eruption and quarantine. In fact, it also says here that the property developer is having their revenues down 28% from a year ago, with its property development and commercial leasing business falling 38% to 7.2 billion pesos and 8.7 billion pesos respectively. Lower project bookings, lower projects due to the Taal volcano eruption in southern Luzon affected their sales and properties. Even if also residential revenues have been falling 40% to 13.8 billion pesos, while the office sale revenues, which is offices, slumped 68%. The only increase was the commercial and industrial lot sales, which actually increased 8% to 2.5 billion pesos. Wave rent in malls has stood at 2.6 billion pesos. The severe impact of the ECQ resulting from the COVID-19 crisis and the Taal eruption caused a major decline in net income of Ayala Land, said the Chief Executive Officer Bernard Vincent D in a statement. Now, the other top news for the day would have to be the press disclosure of Certec Holdings. Certec Holdings is chips, so they announced a launch of their new generation of antennas. Take note that Certec owns Quintel, which has a stake, which is a 5G play in USA, which is antennas. Now, COVID-19 pandemic, we had a lot of press releases from Certec about a month ago, April 15. This is what they said. They said that the global war against COVID has boosted the order book for Philippine-made electronic chips, which are being used to produce critical medical devices. They said that these devices are used to produce ventilators, CT scanners, defibrillators, ultrasound, blood glucose, thermal scanners, and oxygen level monitors. So far, we don't cover Certec, although we're just covering it now due to the news flow. We're seeing here that Certec is producing 1 million chips per week pertaining to medical devices for COVID-19 pandemic. So that's one news for the day. We're also seeing that in another news that's important to share, you might have recalled that San Miguel was supposed to buy HLCM Philippines last year, May 10, 2019. Now today, a year after, San Miguel called off its plans to acquire a majority stake in cement maker HLCM after failing to secure regulatory clearance. So this is supposedly HLCM, a unit of global giant Lafarge. The deal was supposed to be acquisition of 85% of HLCM for a disclosed amount of $2.15 billion, about 108 billion pesos, giving San Miguel a strong control, majority control of the company. The company said that the antitrust body of the Philippines flagged this merger, saying that the buyout could lead to a monopoly, increased market power, and potential collusion, given that San Miguel already owns Eagle Cement. On Eagle Cement's part, they denied operating under San Miguel Corporation's wing and they were not involved in the merger deal. With the collapsed deal, Holcim Philippines will still remain under the control of Union Cement with a 60.55% stake, as well as a global firm Holder Fin with 18% stake and Semco Holdings with a 7% stake. That's your news for the day. Now let's look at earnings and what happened on those news fronts. Definitely with that news, we have seen that from the stats perspective, we actually see that in the worst loser space, Holcim fell 10% from 875 closing to 781 with 1,387 trades with 30 million pesos value traded, showing a really big drop based on that announced non-merger with San Miguel. Another news that we also know is Ayala Land suffering 4.5% with very strong volume. This is 1,029,000,000. So definitely that's a very strong sell-off happening for Ayala Land. In the same manner, because Ayala Land is a property developer, SM Prime, which is also a property developer, also gets hit. This is a 510 million peso value traded, 3% down for SM Prime. We could see that the property sector really led and bled for the Philippine market today. Another significant note we should see is that we're seeing that MPI on the day 6 is having a little bit of trouble breaking the $3. We've got 90 million pesos, 0.9. Yesterday, the MPI closed at 297. Pure Gold is having a difficult mark at the 50 area with about 340 million pesos, selling it a peso down to 2% from 49 to 48. Okay, so from the most active space for the day, because Surtec was in the news about the Quintel, it's actually here. Surtec is trading top 14 most active with 100 million pesos value traded. That's significant with a 15% gain at 858. We'll take a look at the chart later. But that's a big volume as a reaction to the news. Now, of course, from a news flow perspective, most of the news have been negative. So we're seeing that a lot of the companies in the Philippine market are having difficulty breaking above certain levels. So we're seeing generally a mixed reaction with only a few green spots. The only few greens are tech with 15% up. PPI is up 4%, Globe 2%. You have Meralco up 3%. So let's take a look at some charts. There's also this news that you might need to know as a there is ECQ and modified ECQ. So far, Metro Manila is now, as well as the province of Laguna and Cebu, is now placed under a modified enhanced community quarantine from May 16 to 31. So what they mean with a modified ECQ is that there are limited operations within control zone for obtaining essential services and work operations of selected manufacturing and processing plants up to 50% workforce maximum. There's limited transportation for essential goods and services, and there are suspension of physical classes. So on Twitter, these are the most important news that you might need to know. Harry Roque, the Speaker of the Philippines, is saying that modified ECQ means that only in the essentials can be opened. So let's take a look at what they are saying. So there's these kinds of levels, no? Modified ECQ and GCQ. So far, we're here in the modified ECQ, so we're starting to open up. In the modified ECQ, this is what they state, limited movement within zone. Now, the more open is the GCQ, which is the general community quarantine. So I think you might need to take a look on news, but the Philippines is slowly trying to open up from May 16 to May 31, and maybe a few days from now, we might see some of them modify from modified ECQ to GCQ. So for now, we're just hitting a modified ECQ until May 31. Okay. Yeah. So just follow Philippine Star for more updates on the modified ECQ. Let's take a look in certain charts for the day. Close ka lang tong mga news flow. We're gonna chart the news, the negatives and the positives. Okay. Okay. Give me some 5 minutes lang. Close natin yung tabs para bumilis. Pagkalan. Okay, so on the negative front, we're seeing Ayala Land. So the confirmation of a top has been done because of a really negative earnings flow. So 34 is your selling area. That is your short-term peak. We're seeing that triple top here at 34. So how low can Ayala Land go given that it's 40% income drop, and it will only be a modified ECQ until May 31. So we'll see how low, no? So far, Ayala Land is getting a huge impact negatively on COVID. So it's not resilient as what most people might think. We're seeing from a Fibonacci perspective, no? The way to draw for Ayala Land is first and foremost, take a look on your February 20, because that is the first time that there was an outbreak in Italy, sparking a worldwide drop. So there. So that would be 42 area. So here we actually saw that Ayala Land was able to recover 61.8% of that loss, meaning from top to bottom, let's say from 10 to, okay, in this case, from 42 to 19, it only managed to retrace or recover 61.8% of that loss, hitting at about 33.86. So that would be your short-term peak. We might see a potential retest of the support here at the 382, which is 28 peso 40 cents. So you might need to wait for a while, for a few more days to see whether Ayala Land can make a retest here and see if there's support at 28 or lower. Okay, so that's Ayala Land. Of course, with the drop of Ayala Land, we saw a huge volume on the downside for SM Prime. Same thing, we just do a Fibonacci. So this is February 20 here. So SM Prime is also a top magnet when it comes to developments and residential, commercial. Given Ayala Land's problems, we're seeing that SM Prime was only able to hit 31, 32. That would be its most recent peak. We're seeing a potential drop, whether it's 28 or near 26. So it's going down similar, a sympathy land. So far, with the property segment falling down, maybe you could also check whether Mega World will also fall down. Let's take a look at the sector. So Feb 20, this is your top for Mega World. We're seeing that Mega World was only able to retrace 50% of its losses, meaning if it was down 50%, it was down 25% here, and continuation of losses even without the earnings reports yet. So the market is generally showing bearishness on the entire property sector. We're seeing Mega World hit lower. The leader would be Ayala Land, and then the next leader is SM Prime, then Mega World. So far, it looks like there's a retest lower down. Let's take a look at Robinson's Land. Same scenario for all the property segments. Okay. Same thing, Robinson's Land was only able to retrace about 38% of that previous loss, meaning if it was down 40% from actually more than 40%, from 25 to 10, more than 50%, then it was only able to recover a very small portion and then a retest lower. So far, we're seeing that the Philippine market is very bearish with property, which is understandable given how most of the people are anticipating a slowdown in selling of residential sales, property sales, and even office commercial leasing. So it's a very difficult time for the property sector, commercial and residential per se. Now let's take a look with the companies that went on the upside for the day. So we're seeing Surtech go up today with a bit of volume on that news. That would be the first day for Surtech with volume today. So far, since the press release of Surtech on that chips, no, that would be April 15. That would be this day. This was the first news disclosure. This one was just a general sympathy play with the Philippine market rebounding from PSEI 4,000. We're seeing that Surtech has given 3 buy signals so far. This is your first day. We're seeing that it's being supported at 8, closing at 850. There is a gap, as you could see. There is a big gap from 7 to 8. So this gap could be a potential difficulty for some people because that is a 10% gap on the open, and that is very difficult for most people to actually buy too high, no. So what we'll see is that in the first this is just the first day, there could be some pullbacks, or if it doesn't pull back, no, if it goes day 1, day 2, day 3, all the way up, you see resistances first here at 997, then here at 11. The volume is showing that there is some support, and this is your first day. So maybe you could take a look at about the 15-minute chart of tech. You're gonna like to see whether you have supports intraday for those who wants to enter, and where's your cut. So far, because this is a gap up on the news, you could see that it was very bearish the other day, and then it's very bullish today because of that news. And with volume. So I think that most of the support would be here at about 819. Some would have been buying even at about 840 or 858. So if you're looking to make a trade, tech looks to be a tradable area as long as it's above this certain gap at about 786 to 750. So that would be your risk, and your reward would be somewhere at about 9 to 10, giving you a risk reward of, so we'll try to make a risk reward position. So assuming you're buying today at 858, let's say you're gonna cut here at about 790, you want a target of about 10. So here is how you do it. Your risk reward ratio is 2. So that means that for every 1 peso you risk, you make a win of 2. So definitely some people would prefer to have a tighter cut. Maybe some would cut somewhere here below 820, or they would prefer if they had bought somewhere here at about 840, just so that they have a tighter cut and a higher risk reward. So risk reward ratio is also about your entry and your size. So that's something that you could analyze for yourselves. Okay. Okay, so for wholesale, that is a definitely bad news today. So it's understandable why it is being sold down with high volume. Let's take a look with wholesale. So far, that is a gap down. This is a gap down. That means that it fell lower than the price last night. Since the Philippines does not allow shorting, then you just expect that this could fall further with the announcement of the non-merger. Because there's no support, we can either see it hit 7 or 6 or even 5. So there's no support here. The only support that we could see is the 30% downside move at about 6. So it's a failure or a rejection of the news. Okay, so wholesale is on a downturn. Okay, so for the day, we're still gonna see. We're gonna give a brief look on pure gold just to show to the market. We're seeing that pure gold will report earnings this May 15, and MRSGI, Mrs. Gaisano, Metro Retail Stores will be reporting earnings tomorrow according to Bloomberg's website. So so far with pure gold, we're still seeing that it's above that 46 area. It's still above that flag. That was day one, day two, day three is a flag. Day four, day five, day six, whatever it is, we're gonna wait for the earnings, which is still on Friday. So maybe it consolidates here, or some people might be selling first before the earnings. Some people might not wish to wait it out on the earnings date. That's also possible. But the bullishness in the longer term chart remains. Now for Mrs. G, earnings tomorrow, we'll see if the market will have a good news on their earnings front. So there's very low volume, as you could see. It has been falling, but very low volume. So a lot of people are still anticipating and taking a look at what the earnings would be like. So from May 16 to May 31, the market is gonna price in this modified ECQ and how the earnings will look like for the companies that have handled the COVID crisis. With that, thank you for listening. It's May 12, 2020. This is Nikki Yu signing out for our awesome 10X. Please remember to click the bell for all the notifications of our videos and see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.